Detroit Lions at the Los Angeles Chargers. This is now 3 in favor of the Lions on the road at the Chargers. 48.5 is your total. Steve, we've talked about it 100 times. No home field advantage over in LA. Detroit is playing very well. Detroit is getting cold about right now. I imagine everybody wouldn't mind a weekend over in LA. I imagine it's going to be at least 50-50, if not more, whenever it's all said and done. So we're probably going to see a ton of blue in the stands over there. The Lions come in off of a bye, and as healthy as we've seen them basically since week 1, David Montgomery is back. Both offensive linemen that have been banged up are back. Frank Ragnow and Jonah Jackson are both going to go. So this is, from a starter's standpoint, on both sides of the ball, it's pretty much as healthy as good as the Lions can possibly be. You have the Chargers on a short week that are going to be flying back across the country. They lost Josh Palmer now, so now they are down 2 starting wide receivers in Mike Williams, who's gone for the season, Josh Palmer now on IR. So it is an interesting spot here for the Chargers, who basically have to win this game for any sort of hope of anything in the AFC.
But at this point, if you're going to back the Lions, you're paying the most expensive price you have since this market opened. This has been a ton of movement. We mentioned on the show last week that I bet the Lions on the look ahead close to a pick 'em. It was around 1.5 at the start of this week. And now we're all the way to the key number of 3. So at some point you have to have a stopping point, and the key number is where I would stop. I would only be interested in Detroit at less than a field goal, despite the fact that it is a dream spot. They're coming off a bye. The Chargers had to play on Monday Night Football, and it's Jared Goff not having to deal with his typical road game issues because he's in a dome with no home field advantage. So if 2.5 pops between now and kickoff, I would still take that bet. Everything we thought about the Chargers, or at least my concerns about the Chargers offense, came to fruition last week against the Jets. And it just happened to be the most unimpressive 21-point win I've seen in a long time. It just, a lot happened where Zach Wilson melted. They got a punt return touchdown. The Chargers offense could only get 3.4 yards per play against the Jets. They were 23rd out of 28 teams last week in success rate. Herbert had a -10 completion percentage over expected a week ago. And the Lions defense isn't anywhere near as good as the Jets defense, but they're still formidable. And on the flip side, when the Lions have the ball, this is a top 10 offense by advanced metrics against a Chargers defense that is bottom 10 in those same advanced metrics. So it's Detroit or nothing for me, but I really would like less than a field goal. This is getting really expensive.
It is a cheap 3. So if you wanted to buy off of the 3 onto the 2.5, you're going to get a discount on that. And so it's not the worst thing in the world. Typically it's worth about 19 cents if you go from 3 to 2.5, but most books aren't going to give you that. But even if it's 21 cents, 22, so if you're paying like -121, 122, something like that, I would still do that for the 2.5 as opposed to the 3, which I still think is a bet and put in the account. I didn't get the pick 'em. I did get the -1 on the Lions before this thing got to moving. So I have that in the account. Feel pretty good about it. Adam, where are you at?
My eyes and numbers tell me 2 different things about this. And I'll start by saying, if anyone wants to hit the 30-second skip here, that I'm passing on this game. But the Chargers, to my eyes, suck. Mm-hmm. And I don't like them on either side of the ball. I don't really like the way they call the offense. I don't like the way Justin Herbert has looked overall, navigating around the busted finger. They obviously are an abomination on defense. But at the same time, I'm not going to say that my eye test overcomes the fact that they are non-garbage time. They are the number 5 EPA offense in the league, right? Like, they do have some ability to move the football because they have a top 5 quarterback in the league in Justin Herbert. So I'll pass on it. The one way that I could see getting in, if you want to get in, is I would play out a script in which the Detroit offense hums because of what Matt talked about, the fact that the offensive line is healthy, the fact that David Montgomery is healthy. You could play it on the team total. Right now, DraftKings 26.5. If you want to go over, you can get plus money on over 26.5. With a game with a 48.5 total, I think you could try to take a little bit of a positive shot at the Detroit offense getting to 27 points because of the fact that they are healthy and because of the fact that Dan Campbell is going to give you a whole lot of positive decisions on fourth downs that are not going to lead to a lot of crap field goals that tend to hold you back. So I don't want to be involved in handicapping the Chargers is kind of what I'm getting at here. I don't want to try to figure out what I'm going to get out of the Chargers. I want to isolate my handicap to Detroit.
Yeah, I'm from a talent perspective, I agree that Herbert, top 5 quarterback since week 6. And the reason I go back there is like, that is when it's weird. Like sometimes these like good players come back into offenses and then it like kind of messes things up or whatever. So Austin Eckler comes back in. Justin Herbert is like league average or below league average in like every single advanced stat that there is, right? Like EPA plus CPOE, success rate, expected completion percentage, air yards, like all that are like that. Like he's either at league average or below in like every single one of those categories. And like, it's like, I don't know if they rely too much on Eckler or if like they're just running plays that are less efficient because they want to feed him because they know that he's like vocal and gets mad when he doesn't get the ball. Like, I don't know exactly what's going on there. It's weird that you get a Pro Bowl player back and the offense actually takes a step backwards, but that's kind of what's gone on here with all this. And the other thing that bothers me is this offensive line, which, so again, it's not terrible, but if you look at the 27 qualifiers, Herbert's like 14th when under pressure, right? So he's like league average again, like under pressure. Well, the last 3 weeks it's actually gotten a little bit worse for him. He's been pressured on 45 of his 100 attempts, right? Like it's like every other drop back, this offensive line is failing him. And the Lions actually come in with the 9th highest pressure rate in all the NFL. And so I think there's just a lot of things that might end up going wrong here for this Chargers team. And so anything under a field goal, I would still feel pretty good about it. I mean, listen, you already mentioned it, Adam. It's golf in a dome. We're not worried about that. It's good weather. We're not worried about all the other stuff. And then also Chargers, unless it's Joey Bosa, they get no pressure either. 25th in the league as far as pressure rate. So Goff, we don't get the happy feet, like what to do Goff. Like we're going to get probably Goff just standing in there and being able to pick this defense apart with all that. So I don't know. I like the Lions a lot this week. And I think there's a lot of things that are going positively in their direction heading into this one.